Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, and I'm doing something different. Um, One of the things that I'm going to talk about today, I want to talk about what's going on in the United States of America and globally, and everything that you're seeing that is taking place that is making you feel a certain way. I want you to understand that that is His purpose. It's everything that is happening right now is to make you aware of your own consciousness, of your own conscious thought processes, how you think and how you process things, and where you are in the evolutionary process with your consciousness. And today I'm going to be starting this book with you. I'm going to be reading it and discussing it while I read it. And today will be the first, I guess, chapter. The book itself is called Soul Dust, The Magic of Consciousness, and is written by Nicholas Humphrey. And I hope you can see it. Soul Dust, The Magic of Consciousness. And I'm just going to get into it, beloveds, and as I get into it, you'll get why I'm reading it. Coming to explained. Chances are it is less than a day since you regained consciousness. It probably happened soon after the sunlight returned this morning. What was it like for you as you came to? Remember? The chink of a milk bottle, the touches of sheets, the sight of patch of blue sky. You rubbed your eyes, stretched your limbs, and before you knew it, waves of sensation refilled the lake of your being. You re-emerged into the subjective present. Once more, you felt yourself alive. You were not alone. Something like this happened today to countless other individuals here on planet Earth. Our planet, we are told, is merely a condensate of stardust, not so different from all the other minor cosmic bodies that litter the universe. But this one planet has become home to an extraordinary phenomenon. Here is where sentience evolved. And beloved, I really want you to understand what this is saying, because I've been reading this book for a while now, and Spirit just said, you need to do this. So that's why I'm doing it. And for this book, it says here on planet Earth is where sentience evolved. That is major. That is major in understanding the evolutionary process of your conscious self, your conscious being, your conscious needs, your conscious thoughts, and your conscious and unconscious actions. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Here is where conscious selves have come into their own. Here live souls. So, beloved, I want you to think about that. This earth is a place of sentient souls. It is a place of energy that has evolved itself into human beings, into animals, into plants and trees and everything else. And everything is sentient, okay? Even rocks and stones. The indigenous ones will tell you. The stone people, the mineral people, they were here first. They hold the most ancient of knowledge and wisdom. And if you are at all sensitive, they're just like crystals. You can communicate with them. You can touch them. You can feel their vibration. They are such dense beings that you really have to slow everything down in order to be perceptive of them. And you have to be open-minded too. So, here we go. In this book, I will address the questions of what sentience, selfhood, and soulfulness amount to. In the course of it, I will propose a solution to the hand problem, to the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem is to explain how an entity made entirely of physical matter, such as a human being, can experience conscious feelings. The problem is hard because such feelings appear to us who are subjects of them to have properties that could not possibly be conjured out of matter alone. And beloveds, I'm going to read that again simply because it's so deep. It's so deep. And if you need to rewind it and listen to it again to get it, please do so, because this is meat that I'm giving you. This is not Similac, okay? This is meat. Okay. Here we go. In the course of it, I will propose a solution to the hard problem of consciousness. The hard problem is to explain how an entity made entirely of physical matter, such as a human being, can experience conscious feelings. Have you ever thought about how you experience feelings, why you experience feelings the way you do? What is the process that makes you feel, that makes you conscious of feeling? Okay. The problem is hard because such feelings appear to us who are the subjects of them to have properties that might not possibly be conjured out of matter alone. And beloveds, what that is saying, it's saying that even if you don't have the understanding of the dynamics of physics, quantum physics, metaphysics, biology, and all of that, you are aware that you are sentient. You are aware that there is more to you than just flesh, than just the physical. So we're going to find out more. Let's go. There are philosophers who think the problem is simply too hard to admit of a solution. For Colin McGinn, trying to explain phenomenal consciousness as a product of the brain is like trying to explain how you get numbers from biscuits or ethics from rhubarb. For Jerry Fodor, we can't, as things stand now, so much as imagine the solution of the hard problem. The revision of our concepts and theories that imagining a solution will eventually require are likely to be very deep and very unsettling. There is hardly anything that we may not have to cut loose from before the hard problem is through with us. I disagree. I acknowledge, of course, that theorists have not been doing too well in imagining the solution. I am as impressed as anyone by what seem to be the insuperable difficulties. But I suggest we attend to the word seem. The fact that something seems to have mysterious and inexplicable features does not necessarily mean it really has them. And I'm going to show you, this is called a Penrose triangle, and I hope you can see it. This is a Penrose triangle. Okay. Let me illustrate the difference between seeming impossible and being impossible. With the help of a well-known example, suppose you were to come across a solid wooden object that looked just like the object shown in figure 1, which was that Penrose triangle. Once again. Penrose impossible triangle. Certainly it would seem to be a physical impossibility, yet no one would say that just because of what the object looks like, you should throw away your physics books and cut loose from everything you know. You would soon realize, of course, that it must be an illusion, and sure enough, if you could only change your viewpoint, you would discover that what you are actually looking at is the curious object shown on the next page in figure 2. This object was cunningly constructed by the psychologist Richard Gregory, precisely so that when it is seen from a certain position, it creates the impossible of an impossible triangle. This object deserves a name. With Gregory's permission, I call it the Gregundrum. And here is the Gregundrum. Okay. I hope you saw that. If you were to come across the Gregundrum lying on a laboratory bench without knowing its function, I'm sure you would never guess that it holds the key to anything interesting. It is certainly not a pretty thing in its own right. Who would have thought that such a perfect thing as the Penrose triangle could have such an ugly explanation? Yet, as Sherlock Holmes said to Dr. Watson, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. I will argue that the truth about consciousness, if and when you see it from the right perspective, is that it is indeed the product of a highly improbable bit of biological engineering, a wonderful artwork of nature that gives rise to all sorts of mysterious impressions in our minds, yet something that has a relatively straightforward physical explanation. As Holmes went on, we know that he did not come through the door, the window, or the chimney. We also know that he could not have been concealed in the room, as there is no concealment possible. Whence then did he come? He came through the hole in the roof, Watson cried. Our job as consciousness researchers is to find the hole in the roof. Now, beloveds, when I was reading this, Spirit talks to me all the time. And when I was reading this came across as such a deep concept. Looking at every single angle and getting rid of everything that could not be, and understanding that whatever is, no matter how impossible it seems, that is the truth, and that is the answer that you pursue. This is how the conscious mind gets into critical thinking. And right now we're in a time where critical thinking is going to be life-saving. It's going to our survival depends upon the ability to think critically, to do this. So let me keep going. I do not say it will be easy to start with in an area where theorists continually talk past each other. There will be issues about the use of words. To forestall at least some potential verbal misunderstandings, I have set out in the box a rough guide to the conceptual territory as I see it. You should not get hung up on anything in this list at this stage. I will justify and explain these definitions further as we go on. But it is not just words that may come between us and the truth. It may be the deep-seated biases that we bring to the table as subjects of consciousness ourselves. And beloveds, I want you to understand that being that we are consciousness, we are part of a collective consciousness. That critical thinking that takes place, we are part of that individually and collectively. And that's why our thoughts and feelings are so important for us to get in touch with, and not to become so numb or detached or distanced from, or to shut them down or cut them off. Okay, let me keep going. But it is not just the words. Okay, I read that. We cannot, of course, opt out of our privileged position, but we can at least try to imagine what we would be without it. To what end? I want to begin our investigation of the problem by handing it over to someone else. Someone who should have a remoter and more objective view of what consciousness is doing for us than we ourselves have. Now, what he put in this box, I'm going to read that because it was very deep, and I found a word here, and I'll get to it as I read it. In general, when I talk about consciousness, I mean phenomenal consciousness. A subject is phenomenally conscious or plain conscious when and if there is something it's like to be him at this moment. There is something it's like to be him when he expresses feelings, or what philosophers call qualia. Qualia. And beloveds, I need you to look that up. I need you to do some research on it because it is very, very important. It's a very important word. It's a very important concept. It opens up so much more when you go into it. Okay, qualia, for example, the felt redness of fire, the sweetness of honey, the pain of a bee sting, are features of sensations. And beloveds, I like layers. I like textures. I like things that have depth to them. And I want you to understand what he's asking you to do. He's asking you to think about the feelings of how you feel about the redness in the fire. You know, the pain of the bee sting, the sweetness of the honey. That these are sensations that come from our consciousness. We appreciate that red. That's a sensation. Our eyes are drawn to that. You know, it brings out something in us that the yellow and all the other colors aren't doing. It's so many different things, causes so many different sensations in each individual being, and no two beings are alike. So different things will ignite different sensations in us, and we have our own understanding of those sensations and that are stirred in our consciousness by different things. And from those different feelings, some of us are ashamed of what we feel because of moral values or parental things that have happened, or just you're embarrassed by what you feel or what you need. And you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be, because you are part of a collective. You are part of a divine expression, and you are consciously becoming aware of something that is going to help you evolve. Everything changes. You have it here in this lifetime. You may not have it in the next one. So explore your feelings, beloveds. Explore your thoughts. Break them down and look at, this is asking you to look at the sensations that your thoughts create in you and how you associate with that. And all of that, like I said, when you start to do this with focus, that's how you become conscious. When you intend to understand how you feel, how you think, then you're giving birth to your consciousness. You're healing thoughts that are broken and painful, and that it may have been passed on for generations. So it's very important for us to focus and concentrate on our feelings right now, and not to just project them on someone else, but to see why we're feeling that way, why whatever situation is going on, why it makes us feel this way, and examine the layers of it. Okay, back to it. The subject is phenomenally conscious just when he experiences sensations as having these peculiar features. To experience sensations as having these features is a form of mental representation to that effect, with the meaning of represent still to be decided. A mental representation. So, whatever situation causes you to think and feel a certain way, and to experience these sensations represent what's going on with you mentally. Mentally is about your thoughts. Mentally is not about your feelings. Mentally is about your thoughts. Emotionally, that's your feelings. But mentally is about your thoughts. So what are your thoughts representing? Consciously and unconsciously and phenomenally conscious. Are your thoughts phenomenally conscious? Let's move on. Thus, consciousness, or being conscious as a state of mind, is the cognitive state of entertaining such mental representations. Consciousness can change the subject's life just to the extent that these representations feed forward to influence what he thinks and does. So, beloveds, you need to be in an aware cognitive state. You need to be aware of what you're feeling. You need to feel in order to consciously engage with what's going on around you, with the world around you. And to feel that you need to disengage, or to feel that you don't want to be open to feeling because it's going to hurt, or it's just going to be too hard, is to miss out on life and living and evolving. And it is to limit yourself and cut your spiritual growth, your physical growth, your mental and emotional growth up. And you stay stagnant and you stay stuck in one place. And because you never address it, it's right there and it keeps happening over and over again. So, beloveds, let us be able to get to a place where we understand what consciousness is, and that we understand the need to be sensitive. I am a highly sensitive individual. I'm empathic, and I have some, I guess you call them clairvoyant or psychic abilities, or whatever. I'm not the only one. We're all born with these things. It just so happens, like I keep saying, is that I'm fine tuning mine. I'm every day I'm exploring more and more my own conscious thinking, my own conscious being. And a lot of times what I find puts me in a state of mind where I kind of retreat and I kind of step back. And when I'm in that mode, I notice things pile up around me and they get junky and all kinds of things. I get real, I don't want to be around people. I don't want to talk to, I become antisocial. And that's because what I felt is so powerful that I'm trying to figure it out. And I don't want it to be affected or influenced by anyone else. Sometimes I share it with grandfather or someone who is really close to me. But oftentimes it's just me. And I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to look at it. And that's my daughter. And I'll call her back.
Call from Tina.
That's my daughter. And so I'm going to let that
Call
stop
from
ringing.
Tina.
Hello? Okay, good. I shut it off. Okay, she's going to kill me. All right. But, beloveds, this is where that is. And I don't want to take up too much time, so let me get moving. Let us return then to this morning. Only now imagine that a few hundred miles out in space, a visiting scientist from an advanced civilization in the Andromeda galaxy is orbiting our planet. On her first trip to investigate life on Earth, I call her because I assume the Andromedans long ago dispensed with the male sex. Okay, I'm not gonna laugh. I'm situating her craft so as to get a good view of the boundary as night turns to day on the Earth's surface. She observes how all along this boundary, living creatures are emerging from their nighttime coma. They're waking up. Wow, I never thought of that. Our nighttime comas when we go to sleep. Our nighttime comas. Wow. Okay. Birds are breaking into song. Butterflies are taking to the wing. Monkeys are leaving their beds in the trees. And human beings are going downstairs to brew their morning coffee. She observes this great awakening and she nods knowingly. She recognizes, of course, that the central processors that run these earthlings onboard software have been in sleep mode overnight, so as to save energy and perform system maintenance. And now, with the sun's rays bringing light and warmth, it is time for them to resume their life tasks. As a scientist, she has much to look forward to. Once she gets down among these creatures, how interesting it will be for her to study their brains and behavior and figure out how it all works. Indeed, she fancies herself as a bit of a philosopher. One day, she will write a book called Coming to Explained. Coming to Explained. Wow. Our visitor has every reason to trust the scientific method. Whatever else in the universe, she and her colleagues have applied it. Natural phenomena have given up their secrets. No doubt she reckons there can be nothing so different or difficult about those living organisms down there on Earth. But is she right? What about consciousness? Will it ever dawn on the Andromedan visitor that there is a dimension to the lives of at least some of the creatures she is studying that needs special treatment, that when they come to, it is as if a light is coming on inside their heads. Given that she can see things only from outside, it is possible that she will miss this altogether. That she will never even suspect that consciousness exists. And beloveds, I'm going to stop there for a minute because this is where we are. Most of us, we are not aware that consciousness exists. It exists in a way that we have not been taught. It exists in a way that we discount it, that we don't even know when we go into a conscious state of mind. A conscious state of mind is different from a meditative state of mind. A conscious state of mind is being fully present. A conscious state of mind is analyzing the sensations, analyzing the feelings, analyzing the thoughts, and not just being and going and doing without thinking about it, without feeling anything about it, without looking for something deeper in it. And that is why the world is the way it is, because the conscious collective is not even aware of itself consciously. And that gives birth to sheep and a sheep-like mentality. There's no individualism there. There's no, how can I say, consequences or a medium of right or wrong. When I was growing up, I used to watch the cartoons like everybody else did, and it would always amaze me when they would show the consciousness on your shoulders, the little angel here and the little devil there, and of course they would be arguing and tripping out and telling you to do this and do that and all of this and all of that, and why you should do it and why you shouldn't. That's your consciousness speaking to you. That's what that is. And we need to learn to discern that voice, those voices, because there are more than one. Those voices, those conscious voices, they will tell you everything about what you're feeling, what you should do, what they think you should do, and you have to decide consciously which way you're going to go, right or left or middle. And so, beloveds, start analyzing your thoughts. Step back. Look at what you need. Look at what you're feeling. Look at what you're reaching out for. And analyze your feelings. And as you analyze your feelings and you become more conscious of what you feel and what you need, you let go. You also realize what you can let go of, what is no longer serving you. You also are able to rise a little bit higher and feel a little bit better about yourself. The more introspective that you are, it's very important to know yourself and to understand your own thought processes and your own feelings, where they come from, what influences them. And also, it's very important to find those who you have soul ties with, who will support you, who will listen to you, who don't just expect, and just want to take from you. Take your time, take your energy, take your words, take your thoughts, take your whatever. It's important that we are replenished. And it's important that we consciously look for someone to replenish us. And don't just accept anybody that comes along. Make sure that they are conscious of you as a being, that they are conscious of your thought processes and conscious of your heart, conscious of your values, conscious of your dreams. And that comes from communication, beloveds. But let's move on. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find out where I left off. Okay, I see it. I think we should assume that the Andromeda does not have the circuits in her own brain that would make her phenomenally conscious herself. Otherwise, we will not know how to access any claims she may make to have discovered the existence of consciousness in other creatures. She might just be arguing from analogy with her own case, in the way you or I might argue, for example, that it is obvious that a dog feels pain the same way we do. Now, beloveds, when I read that, it blew my mind because it took me to all of the alien sightings and alien abductions and the different stories that I've encountered based upon those, and listening to other people who deal with interdimensional kind of beings and so forth. But what this is saying is that these other beings, these aliens, these blah blah blahs, they don't have the consciousness that we have. And the fact that we have this consciousness fascinates the hell out of them. And that's why they're here. That's why they're looking. That's why they're testing. That's why they want to know how we come across this conscious process of being conscious. How did our consciousness evolve? Why is it here on earth that consciousness is as deep as gravity? You should be asking yourself these things. It's very powerful. Okay, the outward awareness comes from a natural place inside. That was my answer. I wrote it on the side there. See my little chicken scratch? Yes, I write in books. I know I'm bad. I'm naughty. But I write in books all the time. Okay, I'm going to read that again, and then I'm just going to move over. I think we should assume the Andromedan does not have the circuits in her own brain that would make her phenomenally conscious herself. Otherwise, we will not know how to access any claims she may make to have discovered the existence of consciousness in other creatures. She might just be arguing from analogy with her own case, in the way you or I might argue. For example, that it is obvious that a dog feels pain the way we do. The absence of phenomenal consciousness may or may not affect the way she thinks about philosophical and scientific issues. This is something we should be better placed to judge by the end of the book. But I see no reason as of now why it should place any limit on her intelligence, artificial intelligence, as we might want to call it, or her skills at scientific research. Let us suppose, indeed, that she does have an exceptionally and a brilliant analytic mind, and let us allow her every other scientific advantage anyone might ask for. She can undertake meticulous behavioral studies of how earthlings behave in the wild, and then follow up this field work with whatever laboratory investigations are suggested. She has all the research instruments she could possibly need, scanners and imagers and calculators of a sophistication yet undreamed of here on Earth. She can prod and probe and listen in and cross-question. And beloveds, I'm going to stop right there again for a minute because I wrote down here artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is without consciousness. That's deep within itself when you begin to understand why there's certain agendas that are pushing AI intelligence. Not in AI intelligence, AI into everything because it doesn't require a consciousness. It doesn't require you to feel. It doesn't require you to peel back the layers. It doesn't require you to ask why. It doesn't require you to feel why. It doesn't require you to physically look deeper, to go deeper within yourself. Because if the AI is there and it's giving you the answer and everything and blah, 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 you just let it. You don't go any deeper. You don't go any farther than what we have to. And that within itself is part of our downfall as a species. We want the easy road. We want, we want it fixed, but we don't want to do the work. So let's keep going, beloveds, in this. She can, if she wants, take the Earthlings apart and examine their machinery. The Andromedan ethics committees have no objection to alien vivisection. Then, back home, she will be able to run theoretical simulations on her computer and build working models in the robot shop. Then, what will she discover and what will she not? Let us consider some possibilities. If you don't have a conscious, beloveds, if you don't have a human conscious, you have no problem with hurting something. You have no problem with disemboweling it, cutting off its head, raping it, cutting it up into little parts, doing shock treatment, all kinds of things. You have no problem with torture and just the mistreatment of another human being or animal when your consciousness hasn't been developed or when your consciousness is warped. So, beloveds, I want you to understand why I am reading this book, why I'm bringing it forward. And I'm bringing it forward because this is a time that we need to be conscious. We need to be conscious of everything. We need to be conscious of ourselves as individuals. We need to be conscious of ourselves as a collective. We need to be conscious of what is going on, what is the agenda that is going on in front of us. What is going on? And if you really look at it, you see, I step back and I see the birth of human consciousness again, of a spiritual awakening of a consciousness. And it's coming about by us looking at ourselves and examining exactly what we want and what we fear and what we don't want to repeat and to keep happening. So, like I said, this is a very important time, beloveds, and we, each one of us, agreed to be here at this time, and each of us has a purpose. And no matter what is happening around us, we need to be an island unto ourselves. We need to be aware of our square. We need to be conscious of ourselves, of our thoughts, what's really going on inside of us. What are we really feeling? What are we really thinking? And not only connecting the dots, but also looking at the sources and looking at the solutions. And the best thing that we can search for is the best thing we can be aware of that will show us is how something makes us feel. If something disgusts us, then we need to really look at that and see where that goes back to what made us be disgusted by it. And is disgust the only feeling that is around it? Or are there underlying feelings and emotions and thoughts around this disgust? And is it even our disgust? Or was it just this passed on to us as this is disgusting? And that's it. And because that's what was told to you, that was what was given to you, that is exactly how you look at it. And you go on. It's disgusting. You don't even know anything about it. But because that's what you've been told to believe about it, you just take it on and say it's disgusting and go on. And you've never even had your own thought process around it or your own feelings. You've never even examined it for yourself. You're going on what someone else said, what someone else did, what their values, what their conscience says. So, beloveds, it's vital right now in everything that is happening and everything that is getting ready to happen for us to be consciously aware and for us to see everything. Put it on the table. Become your own alien investigator. Everything that comes your way, slap it on the table, put your lab coat, and dissect the hell out of it. And that's how you get your answers. That's how you get closure. That's how you move forward. And you won't have to keep going backward because you've already dismantled it and taken it apart. So there won't be the repeating cycle or pattern of it. And you have to do it consciously. Okay, let me keep going. I'm yapping here. Okay. I gotta start marking when I do this because I'm just like, lost my place. Okay. She will find to her surprise that in order to explain the behavior of certain species of earthlings, she needs to postulate the existence of extra special mental state, a state with peculiar qualitative properties, unlike anything else, which just because of what it is like, is changing how these creatures live their lives. Though perhaps she will be unable to deduce the existence of any such special inner state from what she observes of public behavior, she will nevertheless realize that such a state exists when she examines in detail the flow of information in the earthling's brain and figures out what kind of private mental representations are being generated. Beloveds, that's so deep, and that goes to just, what I said about examining the state of mind and that certain minds think a certain way. And you have to really look at yourself and say, is that how I think, or do I think differently, and why? Consciously do it. Consciously identify what and how you think and how it makes you feel. Okay. She will do better still. Beyond simply discovering the existence of conscious states, she will be able, either from behavioral observations or from brain scans, to arrive at a complete description of what it is like to be the subject of a particular state. Beloveds, I want you to, Mama just said, what is it like to be the subject of a particular state? One of the things that is going on right now in America is, with this electoral decision and everything that is happening around it, people are in a state of confusion. They're in a state of panic. They're in a state of fear. They're in a state of anger. They're in a state of distrust. Now, those words that I just used, all of them have a consciousness to them, have a conscious energy to them. And those words affect each of us differently. Fear may not affect me the same way as the word fear affects you. Love may not affect me the same as it affects you. That's because we have different perceptions of what these words mean. We have different views about the same thing. What's happening now in America is the evolution of America. And globally, you see it going on all over the place. It has been going on a very long time. It has only been America where this kind of evolution has not taken place, because they were so committed to being a democracy. But what we really need to understand are the words republic and democracy. And we need to understand that those are conscious states of choice, of beliefs, of values, of the way you're going to look at something, of the way it's going to affect you and the way it's going to make you feel. And you need to decide if this is how you truly feel, or if it's something just traditional that's been passed on. My great, 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 was this. He was Democrat, so I have to be a Democrat. Democrats are for the poor, so I have to be a Democrat. Republicans are for the rich, so I have to be. Everything that is happening right now is to make us consciously aware of our own thoughts and our own feelings, so that we can evolve to the next step. There is so much that this planet needs from us. We have to expand enough in our understanding of ourselves and our own natures, and how natural it is for us to consciously want something better, different. And if you want it consciously, and if enough of you want it consciously, we are magical beings. We are divine children. We are gods and goddesses, godlings. We live in a material plane that allows us to be conscious, that allows us to be sentient, that allows us to express, that allows us to manifest. And that is the beauty of Gaia, of living on Earth, of the Earth Mother, and understanding your connection to her, and your connection to the stars and the planets and everything in creation. And you should form a connection. You should have feelings. You should have conscious thoughts. about the earth right now and what is happening to her. Every living being should have thoughts about what's happening in the Dakotas, because it's going to affect the water, not only for them but the ecosystem itself, because that pipeline isn't just in North Dakota. It's going to spread for miles and miles and miles, and it can leak anywhere in those miles, and it leaks into the earth, and it will find itself in the water stream, in the water system, or it will poison the earth where nothing will grow, or it will kill the animals and the insects that are in that area. Everything that is happening right now is demanding us to be conscious. It's demanding us to wake up. It's demanding us to see ourselves not just as individuals to be governed, but as individuals who are capable of governing ourselves. And not just saying, okay, you handle it. You government, corporations, you do all that. You make the decisions, and I'll just work my little bones off, and I'll just buy everything and die happy and owe everything, and hopefully come back the next lifetime and do it all over again. Beloved, so much is shifting. This is not the first time that we have been here. We've been here many times in Shambhala, in Lemuria, in Atlantis. Excuse me. Even on other planets. And that's why Earth is what it is. It is a melting pot. It is a melting pot of souls. Souls that need to evolve. And you aren't here alone. There's all kind of guidance. There is the little angel guidance, the little light energy guidance, the little sweet, loving guidance. Then there's the little shadow guidance, who's also loving and witty and humorous and everything else. And you need them both. You need them both in order to ascend. You need them both. You can't have one without the other. You can't just be syrupy sweet. That's not reality. Nature is not just syrupy sweet. She's also destructive. Because she understands the birth, death, and rebirth cycle that human beings have such a hard time with. Okay, let me finish and get on, because it's been an hour and oh gosh, I've got a long way to go yet. Okay, let me keep going. Less talking, more reading. Okay. Or then again, perhaps she will be able to do none of the above. Now, as it happens, there are a good many students of consciousness here on Earth. They may even be in the majority who believe the answer can be only the last of these. In their view, our visitor will fail to discover anything about the consciousness by any of the scientific means at her disposal because of an awkward but undeniable truth. Consciousness, for all its subjective importance, is physically featureless. It does not show. So, beloveds, what that is saying is no one can look at you and consciously tell, unless they're sensitive, where you are or where you're coming from. consciously, you can be saying one thing and consciously thinking and feeling and going about things in a whole different direction. And consciously, nobody can. That's part of being a human being. Me, myself, and I, when I was little, that feature always, it always amazed me. You know, that we could be sitting here and saying and be present. My mother would say, "What did I say? Repeat what I said." And I would repeat what she said verbatim, but my mind and everything else was 10,000 billion miles away. And even when she was talking, sometimes I'd be sitting up there looking at her, saying, "Shut up, shut up, shut the hell up. Gosh, I wish she would shut the hell up." And she would consciously, she wouldn't know. She was thinking I was paying attention to her. And I'm sitting up here, "Please shut the hell up. Shut the hell up. Are you done yet? Don't you need to go do something? Go smoke a cigarette. Shut up." So, beloveds, be aware of yourselves consciously. And be aware that you can know another person, but you never know what's going on with them consciously, in their minds, in their hearts, in their thoughts. They may project one thing and be something totally different once you consciously get to want to know them. So understand that. I thought that was, like I said, that's just so deep to me. And then I disagree to a point on here with this. Let me see. Consciousness, for all its objective importance, is physically featureless. It does not show. And again, I know why I disagree with that to a point. Because to sensitives, your consciousness is visible. It is visible through the aura. It is visible through the vibration. It is visible through your body language. It can be seen. There are ways to see a person's consciousness if you are open to feeling what they're feeling. And you have to literally be empathic to experience another person's consciousness. That's not something, and it's not something I would recommend you doing, because if you don't know what you're doing, you could get hurt or lost in their consciousness, because your consciousness is a portal. It is a portal to the deepest part of you. So understand, beloveds, again, what you're seeing and what we're experiencing and what is going on as far as the consciousness of not only America but the world, because it's taking place in front of us. And if you don't know what you're looking, you would actually really think that the world is going crazy right now. Or you'd be so frightened by what people are saying, this is the end of the world. No, it's the end of unconsciousness. It's the beginning of consciousness, of sentience, of being so aware of not only yourself, but of the earth's need and of everyone else's, and being responsible, consciously responsible. And that's what's taking place right now. We have to get there. And everything that is unfolding is a matter of classroom, is a battlefield. It is us overcoming obstacles. It is us defeating enemies. It is us being confronted with our shadow image, our shadow thoughts, our shadow feelings. And we're going to have to deal with them. So understand what you're seeing, understand what's going on, and don't lose hope. Like I said, you're not here by yourself battling and fighting alone for your own consciousness. There are beings that want to aid you in reaching your conscious state, your highest conscious state, your highest vibration, your truest form, your truest self. It's prophetic. It's the purpose of the planet. You're going to get there one way or the other, no matter how many lifetimes. We are immortal beings. This lifetime is programming us for the next lifetime. That's why there's a thing called karma. Understand, beloveds, that what you put out comes back to you. Everything right now, I had a spiritual visitation from the goddess Ma'at. And she had me to pledge an allegiance to her. And I want you to do a little research if you don't know who Ma'at is, or the 42 laws of Ma'at. Ma'at is the highest form of universal justice. She is the letter of the law of universal justice. There is no blindfold. There's no need. Because there is nothing that... Ma'at is, in the Egyptian pantheon, the one with the scales, the ostrich feather, and your heart is weighed against that ostrich feather. So, your consciousness is what's going to be to give your heart weight. So you want to pay attention to your consciousness, because if your consciousness is loaded with negative and dark and fear and all of this, it's not going to be light as that ostrich feather. But if your consciousness is at a place where you're good with yourself, you know yourself and you're at peace with life and the way things are going, and you understand that there's a flow, then your heart is going to be light. It's not going to be weighed down with earthly things. And you can go on to the next station of transition, of evolution, of growth. But if not, it's a whole different story. Okay, let me keep going. Okay. The psychologist Jeffrey Gray has written, for example, nothing that we so far know about behavior, physiology, and evolution, or either behavior or physiology, or the possibilities of constructing automata to carry out complex forms of behavior, is such that the hypothesis of consciousness would arise if it did not occur, in addition as a datum in our own experience. Not having arisen, does it provide a useful explanation of the phenomena observed in those domains? People kill me, writing like this, because let me just break it down. We don't know enough as sentient beings about the way the mind, the soul, the spirit all works together when it comes to creating consciousness. When that consciousness comes together, that will create an evolution, because there's a certain process, a certain chemical balance that has to take place. We have not progressed far enough as a species to understand exactly what needs to happen in order to break it down. You need to do this, 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 or check this box, check that box. We don't have that. We have not advanced that far, or I should say, we don't have access to that information in our genetic makeup just yet. We don't have that access just yet. But it's coming, beloveds. Keep being consciously aware. And I'm sorry about the lighting of this. It just is what it is, beloved. So sorry about it, but it is what it is. And it's not important what I look like or the lighting or anything. What's important is that you hear what is being said. And so here we go. Others have gone further still, arguing for what the philosopher Owen Flanagan has called consciousness in essentialism. Consciousness in essentialism. The view that for any intelligent activity I performed in any cognitive domain, even if we do, I with conscious companionments, I can, in principle, be done without these conscious accompaniments. Thus, according to John Searle, we could have identical behavior in two different systems, one of which is conscious and the other totally unconscious. Did you hear that, beloveds? This is not just individual and collective consciousness. This is consciousness and unconsciousness. And sometimes the behavior is the same. Sometimes you can do something consciously, and sometimes you can do the same thing unconsciously. And we need to start looking at ourselves. We need to be aware of when we're doing something consciously. And when we have done something unconsciously, we need to go back and look at it and find the patterns and start seeing it when it manifests in other ways. To know that this is our unconscious. This is how our unconscious reacts. This is how our unconscious, gets itself known. Because everything must have its own voice, beloveds. Okay, let's keep going. There could even exist a philosophical zombie human, David Chalmers has suggested, who is physically identical to a normal human being and who looks and acts in every respect just like one, yet who is not phenomenally conscious. All is dark inside. Then, if you or I were to meet such a philosophical zombie in the street, we would not and could not know the difference. And again, unless you are sensitive, a lot of times you don't know. And a lot of times these zombies have had enough practice where they will appear, just nothing out of the ordinary. But inside, there are no feelings. There's nothing there. It's all dark inside. And when something is all dark inside, that means it's just waiting. It's fertile. It's just waiting for seeds to be put there so that things can grow out of it. It's not a lost cause or anything of that nature. It's just fertile ground. And if you understand the universe at all, you understand that when we come across as the Christian philosophy in the beginning, that was the darkness. And from that darkness, light came. That was the seed that was planted. And it grew. And it grew into the sun and the moon. And so forth, and the stars, and so forth. So everything has to evolve. And we all have an evolving point, beloved. So let us begin to evolve. Let us begin to commit to consciously knowing ourselves and coming into our own. Okay. When I read this, I thought this was compassion's true definition. I put it up there. Compassion's true definition. Okay. True, each of us is presumably convinced that consciousness exists in our own case, and therefore we may want to give the benefit of the doubt to others who so obviously resemble us. And that's what compassion is. That's the true definition of it. Knowing that consciousness exists and wanting to give others the benefit of the doubt about their consciousness. That's compassion. But the Andromedan scientist does not know about consciousness from her own case. Therefore, if and when she notes resemblances between herself and any of the earthling creatures she is studying, those naked bipeds who seem to have taken over the planet are certainly technologically ingenious. She is likely to assume they resemble her in this respect as well. And if consciousness in essentialism is right, she will not discover anything in the course of her research to make her revise her opinion. At the end of the day, she will not think she has missed anything. So she will return to Andromeda and write her book with a satisfied sense of mission accomplished, coming to explained away. I said I wanted to hand over the investigation of the hard problem to this visitor, because we might expect her to have a remoter or more objective view of what consciousness is doing for us than we ourselves have. But if this is really how things stand, it seems the problem will not even cross her horizon. Fodor wrote, "This is hardly anything that we may not have. There is hardly anything that we may not have to cut loose from before the hard problem is through with us." He cannot have meant this interpretation, but is the lesson that if we want to keep up with the best science in the universe, we ought to cut loose from the concept of consciousness itself. And I wrote not. We cannot, excuse me, we cannot cut loose from consciousness. We have to develop our consciousness. We have to attach ourselves to the concept, to attach ourselves to the theory, the principles, and the understanding of what consciousness is. And we have to hold on to it with both hands, because it's with consciousness that we become better beings, that we in fact become our divine selves, because we leave that root chakra, we leave that animalistic behavior, and we rise upwards into the heart, and then we go higher. And once you get to the, excuse me for my boobies, but it is what it is, but your heart, when you come past your root chakra and your sacral, and you get to your heart chakra, which is green healing energy, everything above that takes you to the next level. But before you get there, before you can get to this unconditional love in your heart, before you can get to the self-knowledge and I love myself, you have to get past those, the root and the sacral. You have to get past those. And those are the consciously unaware states. Those are the I'm not in touch with myself consciously that much state. I'm more in touch with my with how can I say it? With the baser things, with actions and reactions. There we go. Actions and reactions, lusts and pleasures and things that gratify instantly and immediately, but has no real value. And so once you get into this heart space, your heart chakra area, you expand. You expand, you expand, you expand. And from this space, you understand now that your feelings become deeper. And you start looking at things differently. And people look at you differently because you're no longer the same being. Because you've changed. Because you're coming out of your heart now. Heart and head are connected now. And not just, heart and your lower beings, your lower reproductive areas, so to speak. And you're able to see things in a different manner. You're able to see things from a microcosmic and macrocosmic perspective. And you become aware that there's more, so much more to living and to this world than us waking up every day and going about what we think is our business. And there's so much more. We are connected. I look at it on Facebook. When I say goodnight, I say goodnight and smooches and big hugs. And I have beloveds telling me, well, it's not night where I am. It's daytime and it's afternoon and blah, blah, blah. And that just blew me away because it's amazing to me when you step back and you realize that while you're asleep, somebody else is consciously awake and doing things while you're gone. You're in coma land, so to speak. So, and not only that, but beloveds, we are so really tied to each other that it's amazing how blind we have been for so long. When you are not in your heart space and your heart and your mind is not connected, you cannot be compassionate. You can look at something and say, well, that didn't happen to me or mine, so that don't matter to me. And you do that consciously. You do it, you're able to do it consciously because your head and your heart are connected. You haven't rose up. You got to stand and rise up, beloveds. You got to let every single thing that goes on, you got to know your place in it. You got to understand your existence as an individual and as part of the collective. And you've got to do your part. And stop letting everybody herd you to something or lead you to a conclusion. Think for yourself. Feel for yourself. Know what it's like to feel for yourself. Know what it's like to really empower yourself with your thoughts and your thinking. And that means you've slowed the world down. And everything that's going on consciously and unconsciously out there, because you're conscious, you can look at it and you can define it and you can see exactly what is going on. You can see exactly what to get into, what not to get into. You can see what prayer you need to send to manifest what you need to have manifested. You can see where you are. And when you put that knowing together with what's going on up in the stars, up in the heavens, up in the universe, for 7,000 years it takes for, the rotations and the planets to align and this and this and that, and we're here during that. That's a conscious decision. It's not a random, boop, you were born in da-da-da. No. No. Wake up. Soul dust. Soul dust. I am going to stop here and I'm going to mark this where I am, so I know exactly where to start next time. And I will be doing more of these videos on this book, and I think I'm going to be doing them every day because that'll put me where I need to be. It'll also give me focus on what I need to be focusing on, and right now Mama has me focusing on consciousness. So, Soul Dust, The Magic of Consciousness, Nicholas Humphrey. Soul Dust. Okay, beloveds, that is going to be it for me. And I want to, you know what? I'm going to pull a card. I got my card sitting here, and I had them sitting here, and I'm like, but I'm going to pull one. And, beloveds, this is, excuse me. This is Doreen Virtue, and this is the Archangel Raphael Oracle cards. There we go. And I'm going to ask Spirit to, I'll do body, mind, and spirit. I'll pull 3 cards, body, mind, and spirit. And I'll ask Spirit to give us cards and ask Archangel Raphael to come forward and give us some things that will help us heal our consciousness, that will help us get in touch with ourselves, that will help us ground ourselves, that will give us the right insight, that will allow us to focus on what we need to focus. And also, Archangel Raphael, I ask that if there are blockages in the root and sacral areas, for them to be removed, for them to be opened and to flow in a way that allows us to reach that heart center, that allows us to get there and be comfortable there and to really find ourselves there and to do the healing work that needs to be done, not only in the present right now with us, but that also heals that heals the energy and the genetic information all the way back to the beginning of time. So, with that said, Raphael is, first card is Prayer Works. Dear God and Archangel Raphael, thank you for hearing and answering my prayer of, add the details of your prayers. What I just said was a prayer. So, that first card is going to be answered. I hope you can see that. That is the angel. and the angel is holding an infant. And I want us to realize that we are that infant because we are evolving. We are finally becoming conscious beings. To spiritual beings that already exist, they see us growing. They know what this is. There are many light forces that are in place to assist you with your conscious awakening right now, that are available to help you heal and get grounded. And they want you to know that they got you. They got you. Spirits got you. Okay? Okay, that's that first card. Next card is Give Us Your Cares. Dear God and Archangel Raphael, I am willing to release any fears to you. Please allow me to completely let go so that you can fully guide me in this situation. I want you to see that card because I want you to see that they're walking this path, and I want you to understand that the couple is the physical presence, and the guy in the blue and aqua is just reading their energy, and he's blessing them. He's the angel, and they're walking, and I want you to understand the trees, and I want you to see the path that they're taking, and they're taking it together. They're taking it together as a couple. And this card is saying this is about guidance. It's about guidance. It's about knowing and asking. And beloveds, never be afraid to ask. Never be afraid to say, help me, Lord. Help me, Jesus. Help me, Buddha. Help me, whoever. Help me, Tupac. Whoever. Help me, Elvis. Ask. You never know the energies that are present and around you at the time. Ask for assistance. Ask for grounding. Ask to see something consciously. Ask to know your own self consciously. There are guides available. And that guidance is, a lot of times we don't see it. But it's there. It's there. I see it with my grandbabies all the time. When they're doing something or running and playing and they fall or hurt themselves and they should have been tore up. Okay? And they just get up and walk away. That's your guides. That's your guidance. You are never in this alone. What you see out there with the people with Trump and all of that, they think they're alone. They think that they have to go and they consciously think that they have to go and do that. They don't know that we're in a stream of evolution. They consciously, they can say, oh, I know that, I know that, but consciously, in their heart and in their head, they don't know it because it's coming from their root chakra. They're out there angry, protesting, thinking the system is going to take over their lives and this and this and that is going to happen, instead of understanding that we're evolving. The earth is evolving. And yes, there are dark forces and all of that, but if you truly know who you are, and if you truly trust what created this universe and created those dark forces in the first place, you know that they can't overcome the will of the Creator. That doesn't add up. Just because we can't consciously see it does not mean it's not a conscious process that's already happening, or a conscious thought from the Creator that's already in place. Whether we see it or not, we're living it. We're feeling it. I'm looking at it at Standing Rock. I'm seeing people come together. And I know that as time goes forward, things are going to get a little bit more difficult. But it's going to draw people together. It's going to draw races together. It's going to draw ages together. It's going to draw genders together. It's going to draw countries together. It's going to draw friends and enemies together, beloveds. That's because all of that is needed to evolve. Okay, and this is the healing. This is the healing, that there are guides in place, and that you have to ask for these guides, and that you have to release the fear. You have to be willing. It says willing to release the fear. Are you willing? Are you willing to release the fear? Because some of us hold on to fear because that's all we have. That's all we know. And you've got to be able to trust Mama and know that there's something on the other side of that fear, and that you were made strong, and that even if it kills you physically, you will still survive. What makes you you? Your spirit, your soul still survives, and you will move on in peace. Don't let any entity or force fool you into thinking that you are not a divine being, into believing that you cannot manifest a way out of any situation. Okay? And sometimes things happen and it looks totally different from what we think it should look like, but it is exactly what Mama intends. Let her carry out her will, her way. Step back. Last card. Children. Children. Dear Archangel Raphael, thank you for helping me to help the children. If you know anything about me, you know that everything I do is for the babies. It's not, and when I say babies, I guess I should clear that up a little bit too. It's not just for children. It's for those who are so underdeveloped as soul beings that they are like babies to me. I put them in the category with toddlers and babies. Beloveds, everything in the universe is about reproducing. It is about offspring. It is about the next, what's coming next. Everything that we're doing right now is about what's going to be next for our children on this planet. This planet is changing. It will not be the same planet that it is for them that it is for us. The continents and countries may not even be where they are 20 years from now. We need to understand that our babies need water. Our babies need clean water. Our babies need land that has not been poisoned. The indigenous ones, especially the Native Americans, look forward 7 generations. And you can find that in a lot of prophecies. And it's not just with the Native Americans. In many cultures, it is always about the young ones. And beloveds, I want you to understand where the women play such a deep part in this. Because the women are life carriers. We are life bearers. We are the wombs of men. And there is a special energy. There is a special regard. There is a special consciousness that needs to happen in regarding women. I'll say women and children, but especially women. Right now, we live in a misogynist, patriarchal world. When James Brown said it's a man's world, it's a man's world because man created it that way. And women have not used our powers in a very long time because we were condemned as witches. We were burned at the stake. We were drowned. We were tortured. We were dismembered. That is in our conscious DNA. There have been so many things that have been taken from us. Our children sold and enslaved. Our husbands killed before our eyes. Our mothers and fathers sold off or brutalized or beheaded for standing up or standing up for us. There is so much that is needed right now. And beloveds, I want you to know that it's going to take the woman to empower herself. She needs to feel empowered. She needs to feel loved. She needs to feel supported. She needs to feel protected in order to do what is necessary to increase the vibrations and anchor them on this planet, and to help give birth cosmically to this consciousness that is being born. So, beloveds, I need you to open your minds, open your hearts, and consciously, unconditionally love the females in your life, those that you come across. Because they bring the waters of life, not just in the bedroom, but in the world as well. We manifest orgasmically, energetically, consciously, and unconsciously. And if we are so worn out and so tired and so beat down, this is what this world is, because we feel we have no place, no voice. And that time is dying. It is the feminine time now. It is the feminine principle now. And let me tell you, the feminine principle that is being activated right now is not going to leave the sacred male principle behind the way that the masculine did the feminine. This sacred feminine is going to, how can I say this? It's going to reach out to the masculine because she knows that both are necessary. Both are necessary to produce the child, to produce this cosmic new awareness. It is not just the feminine principle, just like it was not just the masculine. It has to be both. It has to be balanced. Because we are both. Okay, beloveds, that's it. This is Mother with Wisdom. Namaste. And I hope you listen. I hope you subscribe to my video YouTube channel station. I hope you pass it along. And I will be doing more reading from the book. And again, that's it. So, namaste and blessings. Big hugs. Biggest smooches. Mwah!